Hello and welcome back to Joe's Knows Baseball, Episode 5. I'm your host for today, here with Jack Kemmler and Giacomo Imperial. Today, we're going to be going over some players to watch. You know, it's been a while, though. It's been a while since we've been here, but ready to get back into season. Spring training starts in 10 days. I mean, boys, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm ready. Fired up.
All right, so let's get started with Jack. Give us a player. Give us one of your guys to watch.
I do want to start off with saying Happy Valentine's Day, to all the people spending it with their significant others. Of course, we don't have any because we're lonely. But my first player is Corey Seager. I think this is very obvious coming today with the official rules changes of the shift. 2 players on each side of the second base. They all have to have their feet on the dirt. So Corey Seager, you saw last year, or really since 2018, he's been shifted on 75% of his pitches. And in 2022, he was shifted on 93% of his pitches. Against the shift in 2022, he had a WOBA of 327, but without the shift, he had a WOBA of 412. So you can see the big difference that when he has 3 guys lining up on his lefty side, it makes him a worse hitter. He also, when hitting grounders and line drives into the shifts, he batted 160, which estimated to about 26 base hits that he lost. 26 times he could have had more hits. And if you look at, most outs made on ground balls and line drives hit on the shift in 2022, Corey Seager leads the league with 90. The second guy is Kyle Tucker with 66. That is unreal. And also, you're going to talk about how he just didn't really have a good year last year. He batted like 240, not that many homers. The OPS was not high, but we saw that with Francisco Lindor in his first year in New York with that big contract. So it was also Corey Seager's first year in the big contract with Texas.
Yeah, and Jock will get to you in a second, but definitely would like to point out, the shift is going to be, I believe it's going to be a big factor in this show for guys to watch. Huge deal, especially for the lefties, power hitting lefties, pulling that ball into the side. There's going to be 2 guys there. It's going to be a lot harder to stop, the pull approach. So we're going to see especially how teams going to work around the no shift. And some players, especially like Seager, who can excel. So, Jock, your question?
Yeah, well, real quick before I go with my guy, Corey Seager offensively, no doubt, will have a better year next year, but his glove is really what concerns me. Corey Seager is nowhere near a top-of-the-line defensive shortstop, which he doesn't have to be, but I'm just saying that's the one thing that concerns me with Corey Seager, especially going into next year.
Yeah, that's fair, but, as Jack said, and we all know, Corey Seager, if you look back to the year before, he hit like 300 with 25-some homers. This guy, it could be looking at one of the best offensive shortstops this year and one of the better offensive shortstops we've seen in a while. He is a real stud. Even coming off a down year, I expect a lot from him. And as Jack said, the shift is going to be a huge impact. So, Jack, on your guy, who we got here?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a guy that really had a big down year last year. Guy I had a lot of faith in, but didn't show it, but he's due for a big bounce back this year. And that would be Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers. I think Torkelson, now with the shift ban, is going to have a monster year. He hit 203 with 8 bombs last year in his rookie season with a negative 1.3 WAR. That's atrocious. Let's be honest. That is bad. And he's not known for his defense. It's not like he's a great defensive shortstop. First baseman. But I think that with the shift gone, it's his second year in the league. He's used to pitching. He's in a very weak division in the AL Central. Not very many good pitchers in his division. I'm expecting a big leap out of him. His projections on Baseball Reference are awful. Projected at 225 with 9 bombs. I think he blows that out of the water. I see him hitting like 240, 245. I think the pop will definitely be there a little bit more this year. And I think, again, with the shift ban, it's going to be a huge factor for a lot of these guys. I think Torkelson's really going to have a much better season this year in his sophomore campaign.
Yeah, Torkelson, great prospect last year. I think coming up, he was number 3 prospect in the league last year. He was a guy that I was big on last year too, as Jock said. Drafted in my fantasy team. I went all out for him, and he upsetted me.
He was bad.
He was a mess. Very bad season, but young guys, we always see, guys bounce back. So, I'm stoked to see what he could bring to the table. And I'm going to switch it up Jock, do you have something to say?
Yeah, one quick thing. Like, again, with Torkelson, a guy who struggled in his rookie season, not everyone's going to come up and be Julio Rodriguez or Adley Rutschman in their rookie years. I mean, a lot of guys, it takes time for them to develop. Not everyone's going to be Julio Rodriguez, be like a top 5 center fielder in the league in their second year. Not everyone's going to be that. Torkelson just needs a little time to develop. That's why I think he's going to take such a big leap next year.
Well said. So I'm going to bounce over to my guy, another first baseman that came up last year. He didn't really get the full season in, but the first baseman for the Royals, Vinny Pasquantino. Yeah. I mean, this is what I like to call a mini Freddie Freeman. Mini, not in size. This guy's massive. I mean, he is a big dude. But if you really watch, closely, very similar in swings. And something that stood out to me while, taking a bit of a deeper dive into his numbers, his contact rate is absurd. It's, I think, like the 90%. And, I mean, this guy, when he swings, he's going to put, bat on ball, and he hits the ball hard. He had a very good, rookie season. So do I expect him to, do better than what he did? He hit like 370. I mean, of course, over time, those numbers are going to even out. He's probably going to hit like 280 or something. But I expect this guy, not even for this year, but just for the future, to be a real stud. This guy just puts bat on ball. He hits the ball real hard. And, defense isn't his thing. As you said, it was Torkelson. A lot of the rookie first basemen takes a while for them to get settled. They're usually just big power hitters. So I expect him to settle into that position well. But he is one of my guys to watch, not just as a guy to bounce back, but a guy to be very, very important to this Royals offense, who's very weak. I mean, Witt on the other side at third had a pretty decent year, but I think he could take over.
I think you're lowballing that 280 there, Will. I think Vinny Pasquantino could hit 300. I mean,
I think he could.
He's the best comparison I heard from. I forget who it was. One of my friends told me the best comparison is he's like Trey Turner at first base. He just puts the bat on the ball and puts it in play. Just as you said it, his contact rate through the roof. He could hit 300. I could 100% see it, especially in a weak division that he's in. The pitching he's facing every game is not going to be that great in his division.
Yeah, and another thing, going back to it, he's one of those guys where he hits the ball hard everywhere. He hasn't found a way to get over the fence too much. I think he had 5 bombs in his rookie campaign, about like 60 games he played. So, I mean, I really expect for him to step it up on the home run central, but I really hope he doesn't fall into the trap where he sells out for bombs and, hits crappy average. But we'll see. I mean, he's a real stud. Jock said it, the average is definitely going to be there. He does put the ball in play a lot, so a lot of things to come from him. And Jack, who do you got for your second player to watch here?
Also, like real quick with the schedule and like the division thing, is the schedule is totally different this year as well. You play every team, so that's gonna outcome these hitters a lot who haven't seen these. If you're an NL player, you haven't seen these AL pitchers that much, or AL, NL. So that could change a lot with a new rule change. But for this player, it's gonna be short and sweet. I just don't want people to forget about these players because they're playing on such horrible teams. And he was injured. Tyler Stevenson on the Reds, very forgettable team. He's young. I've granted his defense. His defense is horrible. I get that. I'm just looking at his hitting side. At the 50 games he played through 2022, his slash line was 319, 372, and a 482. That's a 134 WRC plus. The offensive WAR 7.7. That is an amazing first 50 games until he broke his clavicle. I just don't want people to forget about him when that Red team has some young studs like Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Tyler Stevenson, all could fight for an all-star spot.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I remember Tyler Stevenson last year watching him. It was like watching like prime Mike Trout. That guy just out of nowhere came out and just crushing. Only thing that concerned me was his strikeout rate was like, I think it was in like the 20s. Yeah. But I mean, it's all things you could fix. He was so surprisingly good. I remember even in 2020 he had a good year. So this guy's just been underrated forever. Good to shout him out. I mean, he's got a lot coming for him. If he could stay healthy, he definitely could try to scrape in that top 5 catcher role.
Yeah, like I said, that Reds team. There's some. I know, Will, you've been looking at Nick Lodolo. Like Hunter Green had almost a no-hitter last year. So they're pretty young and they're looking good. Yeah,
and definitely, guys like India. Remember, he missed a lot of last year. They got, some rookies coming up, but it's definitely an exciting team to watch. I mean, well, depends on how you take it. They're not going to win too many games, but there's a lot of young talent, and you never know what they could do. So, Jock, who we got here?
So for number 2, I have a really interesting one, and this one could go either way, but I think I'm going to take him more on the positive side, and that's Miguel Rojas. Now, we all know the trade to the Dodgers. I think with the shift ban, he's going to have a much better year. He had 236 with a 2.5 WAR last year. The bombs are not going to be there for Miguel Rojas. We all know that, and we all know he's not the greatest hitter, so he's going to give you very, very serviceable defense. But, I mean, I think he has a lot of potential. I mean, he's moving from a better, more hitter-friendly ballpark from Miami to LA. I mean, I think Miguel Rojas could hit, like, high 240s, maybe 250 with, like, a little bit more power. He hit 7 bombs last year, maybe, like, 12, 13 bombs. So I think a pretty decent increase for Miguel Rojas is kind of due. He had a little bit of a down year last year. And, again, he's playing with the Dodgers. I mean, that team and that chemistry on that team is just electric, and I fully expect that to kind of help embrace him. He's been on the Marlins, who have not been good for years and years, like in the past, but I think a new change of scenery could really help Miguel Rojas this year, and he could have another breakout year.
Yeah, I mean, I remember during our show, we were talking about, ranking shortstops, and he came up, and I was almost confused. I barely even knew the guy. I mean, the Marlins aren't a team that you pay too much attention to, because they really aren't that special. But I took a better look into him after that, and he's a talented shortstop, especially with the glove. Great defender. But I do like what you're saying with going to the Dodgers. It seems like the Dodgers is they do it right over there. So I mean, excited to see him. A couple other guys play over there. The Dodgers lost they lost a lot of talent. I mean, they lost Trey Turner, and their outfield they lost Bellinger. So they got a lot of proof here, even, being one of the better teams in the league. But a move like this could go far away. I mean, you never know what Rojas could do if he could, break out and become something special.
Most definitely.
So I'm going to follow Jock's lead again. A guy, hitting wise isn't his specialty, but one of the best fielders, probably the best fielder in the league, especially at his position, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Might be hard to say because, you're going to go with Arenado, but this guy is special fielding. But here I'm going to be talking about his hitting. So last year he hit 244 average, 7 homers. He had 20 stolen bases. I mean, 22% strikeout rate. So not anything special, but if you look at his spray chart, the guy uses a whole field very well. He's a very smart, talented hitter that just doesn't put it together. And, looking into him, just a very confusing guy. I mean, he's 44th in the league in contact rate, which is, above average. He's sitting around guys like Tommy Edman. So it's not that he's swinging and missing too much, but he's striking out a lot. And on top of that, his hard hit percentage in the 84th percentile, that's on the higher end. So he hits the ball really hard, just not being able to find too much outfield grass. A lot of that's going to come from his launch angle, where he's sitting around like 5.4, 5.5 in the past seasons. And that holds a big deal. He puts the ball on the ground a lot, and that's what's killing him. His ability to work up the middle has kept him in the league. But I would like to see, I believe in him that a change in something a little, be able to put the ball in the air more on the line really could put this guy into potential, be like a really good hitter. I mean, this guy, especially with the new rules with the bag being bigger, the stolen bases are going to go up. Ke'Bryan Hayes, to me, is a very special player. This guy's just got all the talent in the world, and I think this is the year he finally puts it together.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but again, the thing with me is like Ke'Bryan Hayes is 26, he's almost 27 years old, and how many years has he been in the league? 3 or 4 now, right?
This is going to be his 4th year now.
4th year, and listen, the defense, he should be in the Gold Glove conversation every year. Ke'Bryan Hayes, I would agree with you. I think him and Arenado are like 1A, 1B defensively at shortstop, but he's already had 3 years, and he really hasn't shown any difference from year to year. Maybe you can put his rookie season up to his sophomore and junior campaigns next to each other. Maybe they're a little bit better. But, I mean, I guess with the shift ban, maybe a little bit. But to me, I don't see a huge reason why Ke'Bryan Hayes is for some reason going to just step up his offensive game. I mean, we all know he's not a great hitter. I mean, I would love to see it. He could become borderline top 5 shortstop in the league with the defense he has, and if he has serviceable offense. I mean, it's a little difficult for me to see just why randomly he's going to break out this year.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Looking into him, it took me a long time to figure out what's going on. I mean, he's definitely a confusing guy. He hits the ball he puts the ball in play a lot, hits the ball hard. So to me, that should be the calculation for being a good hitter. But as I said, puts the ball on the ground way too much. In the air, he has no success because just the lack of pop he has. But I mean, I really do. I do think this is a bit more of optimism coming out of it. But I think that he really, a few tweaks to some things could make a run to be a great player. But really, I mean, his fielding is just so special. I love to watch him field. I mean, I love to watch him play. But I mean, I think this could be the year, coming to the fourth year. There are guys who does take a little bit longer to
late boomers.
Yeah, to figure it out. So I think Hayes could be one of the guys, and I mean, he could be a part of that of a very special Pirates team that turns it around. I mean, they still got Reynolds, Cruz. They got some pretty decent pitching there. I mean, they could turn it around.
Andrew McCutchen, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite player, but no, that organization is a joke. But definitely, I would love to see Ke'Bryan Hayes really take a big step this year. I think he could. He just needs to be in the cages, getting his swings in every day, working on that launch angle, man. That's what he needs.
Yeah. All right, Jack. On your last guy, who we got here?
My last guy, I've watched this guy the whole 2022 season. It's Bryan De La Cruz. He batted 252. 294 and a 432 slugging. His WRC plus only a 104, but this is where everything kind of started to shift for me. I saw a 1.1 thousand OPS in September. That's the third best in baseball. He had a 44% sweet spot rate just in 2022. That was the best in baseball. His difference between expected outcome and outcome of the ball was tied for third largest difference in league. So that's basically based off the outcome or the quality of the contact versus what was the outcome of the actual hit. So me watching him, I watched at least 10 of his at-bats. I could see how well he fouls off a lot of pitches to keep it in the count. And especially in a not hitter-friendly park where you saw he only had 13 homers, but he's got power. I expect him. They're all talking about Jazz Chisholm. Of course, he got the MLB The Show cover. So he's supposed to be a star. But I think Bryan De La Cruz is like a serpent underneath and will be the best player on that team for the Marlins instead of Sandy Alcantara in that.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, that is a hot take because Alcantara, I mean, he's looking
best hitter. There's a lot of great pitchers there. But
I mean, they still got Jazz on that team, and Arias is on that team too now.
I don't think Arias is that
Jazz.
special.
I mean, I get Jazz, but Jazz, I'm not a big Jazz lover. I'm really not.
I mean, I'm not either, but Arias just won a batting title in the AL.
Yeah.
That is true. He's very good, but I don't expect him to keep that up.
I don't disagree.
I think batting average is a very hard stat to gauge, especially year to year. So I hate to say it, Met fans. You never know what's coming with Jeff McNeil. But
whoa.
I mean, it's a very different thing. I mean, batting average has a lot to do with where the ball falls. And I mean, if you're watching Luis Arias throughout the season, he wasn't really, I was more impressed with McNeil's batting title than I was with Arias. Arias just kind of slapped the ball around the field and, had pretty good success finding grass. So, I mean, I do think that De La Cruz and Jazz are definitely better than Arias. But man, it's gonna be a good fight to see if De La Cruz is gonna be able to dethrone the MLB The Show cover this year.
I think he will. I mean, just the 44% sweet spot rate last year, the best in baseball. Will could speak on that more. That's an amazing stat.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's definitely all about finding the barrel. And if you're getting a sweet spot, you're definitely getting at least an extra base or two. I mean, you're hitting the ball hard, and that's just kind of what it is. If you're able to barrel up the ball a lot, you're avoiding strikeouts, you're keeping the ball off the ground. I mean, that's how you got to play. And I mean, he is a special player. Big things coming from this year.
Yeah, and that Marlins team is not going to be bad. If you want to throw it in the quick team to watch, especially with John Birdie, who is just a very fast second baseman, and they got Arias, so we could see a pretty good year out of the Marlins.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jock, who we got here for our last guy?
Yeah, I mean, would this really be a show if I didn't pick a Mets player to watch out for? I had to. I mean, come on now, guys. I had to. And the guy, it's not going to be what most people are expecting, but it's going to be one of their new offseason acquisitions, Omar Narvaez, with Citi Field, Steve Cohen moving in the right field fence 10 feet. This guy had a very injury-prone season last year. Hit 206 with a negative .2 WAR and 4 bombs.
Jeez.
A horrendous season. But guys, Omar Narvaez is a career 260 hitter. I don't think a lot of people realize that. In 2021, when he made his first All-Star appearance, he was hitting 268. He had his best season by far. I mean, I think again, he was a guy who was in the top 10 of unluckiest players against the shift. That means consistently they were putting the shift against Narvaez, and he would just hit into the shift. I mean, just with the shift gone now, and the fact that Citi Field is moving their right field fence in 10 feet, I think Narvaez's power numbers and his average could just go skyrocketing with the Mets this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Narvaez is. I remember last year a couple times seeing him play. He's definitely a special talent. I mean, injury prone like crazy. Kind of what happened to Stevenson, as Jack was talking about, but definitely, I don't know how many reps he's going to get with Alvarez coming up, and the DH spot being filled by Bergerman, but definitely a guy to watch, especially with that new the movement of the right field wall. New York is going to be a heyday for crappy home runs to right field with Yankee Stadium and Citi Field.
Well, it's not that crazy, and
yeah, it's
also
not that bad.
But also, like, if you could talk about like the opposite of it, so like maybe they're gonna hit more homers, but the right fielder, he comes in more. He's closer to the infield, which makes a lot less bloop hits or quick line drivers to get caught.
So you're telling me McNeil is a bust?
No.
I don't know, man.
McNeil knows where to put the ball. He knows when he puts that bat on the ball, he knows where it's going.
I got you. He directs it where he wants.
Yeah, it's golf, baby.
He should probably tell him to put the ball to the fence more.
You don't have to do that, though.
He better have 0 homers this year.
All right. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to go with a pitcher. We have not had a pitcher yet. I did not expect that, but I'm going to go with one of my guys, Guac, Brian Bayo, a rookie who came up last year. Wow. I didn't say anything about Omar Narvaez.
I mean, he was an all-star. Who is Brian? I'm dead serious. I've never heard of him before.
I don't expect you to. Brian Bayo was our best pitching prospect last year. Came up through about 30 innings. I mean, but here's one thing I want to point out. This guy is ridiculously talented. He's from the DR. Picked him up when he was 16, and he's been in our system for a while. Climbed the ranks and finally came to the MLB last year. I was stoked to see him pitch, and I mean, to me, he did not upset, but in the broad sense, he kind of did. He had a 4.71 ERA and a 3.15 batting average against, which is kind of horrific. I mean, for a rookie, you will give him a break, but here's a couple things on a rundown. His expected statistics. So basically, if things happen how they should happen, he would have a 2.47 batting average against and a 3.7 ERA. That's a big step up. One of the biggest ERA gaps from ERA to expected ERA in the league. And a lot of that comes from his ability to produce a ground ball. 5-pitch arsenal. He's got a changeup, fastball, sinker, slider, curveball. And he produces ground balls at one of the highest rates in the league. He produces a ground ball at 55%. And that would fit in if, full season would fit in around 5th or 6th in the league. And he's also got a 20% strikeout rate. He shines all around, the pitching. A lack of command brought his ERA up, and also just the unluckiness of a lot of infield hits. To end it off, his infield hit percentage was 8.7, which in a full season would be the highest in the league. And I mean, this guy got very unlucky in his rookie campaign. Also very young. I think he's 22 years old. I got a lot coming from this guy. He reaches 100 on his fastball. Sinker's nasty, just drives the ball straight into the ground. He's got a great changeup. And one more thing to point out that many people don't know, he spent a week in the DR working with Pedro Martinez on his changeup. Pedro Martinez threw probably the best changeup of all time. So that's a big thing to watch. I mean, to get tips from one of the greatest pitchers ever, it's special. And I think this guy's going to be special. I think he's going to be a whole lot better than Omar Narvaez. However you say it, I totally messed that up.
So.
I mean, Brett Beatty got lessons from Troy Tulowitzki, so.
Yeah.
I don't know who Brett Beatty is. I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, Big things coming.
When I see it, I'll give you all the credit in the world. I mean, again, I've never heard of him, so I'm not gonna really comment too much. I don't think most people have ever heard of him. But listen, if he has a big year, I'll give you all the credit, Will. I'll shake
That's
your
what
hand.
I'm saying.
Like,
hey, this is what it's for. This is a player to watch. I'm not telling you he's a future Hall of Famer. I'm just saying watch out for him.
I agree.
All right, so now we're going to be moving on to teams to watch. You know, we're not telling you these guys are going to be making the playoffs, but these are teams that are going to make a step up. You know, they made some big offseason transactions. They have some, rookies coming up. However it's going to be, these are some teams to watch for 2023. And Jack, when you start us off here?
Yeah, I'll start us off with I think could win the NL because how hard the NL East is this year. It's going to be such a dogfight between the Phillies, Braves, and Mets that I don't see a team going past 97 wins because they just beat up on each other. So I think the Padres, who had an amazing offseason, and the Dodgers having one of their worst off seasons. Now, granted, in the coming years, I think Dodgers are going to be amazing because they still have a top 3 farm system. But I just think it's a gap year. They just lost Trey Turner. They lost Justin Turner. Bueller's still out for a whole year. They lost Trevor Bauer. And I just think it's just going to be a gap year for them. They're going to win like 80, 85 games and maybe squeak into the playoffs. I don't see them being near as good as the Padres, who Padres beat them in the playoffs. And they added Xander Bogaerts, Michael Wacha today. Tatis will be coming back. They have a full season of Josh Hader. So I expect them to win that division and maybe win out the NL because that NL East is just going to be such a dogfight. I don't see a team getting to 100 wins.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jock definitely could speak more about the NL East being the Met fanatic that he is. But I mean, that is a good point. It's going to be a complete dogfight, as you said. Just 3 amazing teams. Hate to say it, the Marlins are going to, just be that annoying little brother. It's going to keep on kicking up the shins of the big teams. They're going to be picking wins out here and there. And, being the Mets, I don't expect them not to get swept at the end of the year by the Marlins to become a wild card spot. It happens every year for the Mets. Just not a good team, not a good organization.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, Jock, who we got next?
I kind of want to. This isn't really just one team. I want to talk about 2 teams, and I'm gonna put a little take in there. I think the more and more I look at it, I don't think people realize how bad the St. Louis Cardinals are going to be this year. They didn't address their one need, and that's starting pitching, and it scares me. Adam Wainwright is like he's almost an extinct fossil at this point. He was supposed to retire last year, and he just didn't. So my hot take is I really think the Cubs have a very good chance to win the division this year. A completely revamped team. Dansby Swanson is going to be leading the way. I mean, the Cubs' biggest offseason moves was adding Wilson Contreras. I mean, he's a great catcher, don't get me wrong. But this Cardinals team, like Goldie's going to regress. Like, he's not going to be an MVP again. He's also very old. Arenado will be Arenado, great. But, like, I think this Cubs team has so much upside. And especially if they are in contention to win that NL Central division, I could see them making a move at the deadline for a big-time arm. Because that's really, to me, that's really the only thing that they are away from a very good season is a big-time arm or 2 in the starting rotation. So I really think that the Cubs could really give the Cardinals room for their money this year in the NL Central.
I'm sorry. I just completely have to disagree. No hate towards the take, but I just still think the Cardinals, like, first off, their infield, they have Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman, who are up-and-coming players that are going to be very good. Still Tom Yedman, top 10 in WAR in the league. And their outfield, a player like Lars Nootbaar, who not many people know about, but he's a very underrated right fielder. They still have Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson. Sadly, they lost Harrison Bader, but they also did add Wilson Contreras. He's a very good catcher, one of the best in the league. And for the Cubs, I get they added Jameson Taillon, but I still can't trust that rotation at all. I still hate it. But for the Cardinals, I do agree the rotation has lost. They lost Quintana. Wainwright is not anything he used to be, but I still expect Flaherty and Montgomery to have a pretty solid year.
No, that's the argument. If you're going to argue against it, it's definitely the argument that you can't have trust in the starting pitching. But again, this Cubs team's completely revamped. You bring in Swanson, and then you have Horner still. Ian Happ was an all-star last year in the outfield. You bring in Bellinger. I mean, they did make a lot of good moves. But again, I would completely agree. The argument against the Cubs would 100% be that rotation could be very, very shaky and could just be batting practice fastballs at some point in the season.
Yeah, and there's one more thing I'd like to add. Jack went over the Cardinals infield, which may not be the best in the league, but it definitely is loaded. Hate to break it to you, they are adding another guy. I mean, they have the prospect coming up, not Mason Wynn, but Jordan Walker, prospect shortstop. This guy is talented. He is so very, very good. And I mean, that's another scary thing to think about. I mean, where is he going to play? Where's Nolan Gorman going to play? Where's Brendan Donovan going to play? They have a lot of talent, a lot of guys. I mean, they have the ability to be a special team. And one more thing I'd like to add, Matthew Liberatore, left-handed pitcher. He was a rookie last year. I remember he came up with Nolan Gorman, lifelong best friends. That was a whole love story they had together. But he's definitely, going to be special. He had a slow start, but very young. He played in very, very big games. He got his nerves out right away. And to me, he looked like he could be a next very good starting pitcher. So a few question marks hanging around for the Cardinals. And before we move on, Jack, you got a question?
Real quick to also, back up the Cardinals, Giovanni Gallegos, Jordan Hicks, and Ryan Helsley all still in their bullpen. So
I said the bullpen is good. I didn't mention that.
I'm not trying to go against you. I'm just trying to say that this Cardinals team should win the division. Like they should,
but I think the Cubs
no excuses there. Close. Yeah, if the Cubs win it, that's horrible on the Cardinals, and they
Jesse Winker is going to get revived back to his prime and lead the Brewers to win the division. I mean,
no.
All right, so I mean, I don't know about that Jesse Winker tape with his 205 batting average, but you never know. You never know. So moving on here, I'm going to take an AL team. I know you guys want to shy away from it. You want to stay as close to Mets as possible, but I'm going to go to my division. And no, it's not going to be the Red Sox. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think they could be a wild card team, but I'm talking about the Blue Jays here, and I'm only talking about them because I hope they're not underrated. I hope people think that they're going to win the division. Like, I hope that's kind of the agenda going on here because this team is amazing. It's the team last year minus Teoscar Hernandez, but they brought in, they're bringing in Dalton Varsho. They got a bunch of rookies coming up. I mean, Vladdy had a bad year. Bo Bichette, I'm expecting big things from him. This is such a talented team, and you look around, they just did not put it together last year, especially guys like Yusei Kikuchi had a horrible year. Jose Barrios, I think, switched arms mid-year and just started throwing lefty because it might have been the worst seasons I've ever seen. I mean, this guy, Jose Barrios, was looked upon as an ace. I don't even think he's a worthy pitcher in high school at this point. But, I mean, it really takes them coming together. They had a rookie manager. A lot of things were loose in that Blue Jays team. And, I mean, I expect a ton of them. I expect 100 wins from them. I mean, they just take a step back and look at who they have on this team. It is so, so loaded. I mean, I love everything about the Blue Jays. And no, I do not think the Yankees can contend with them. I especially do not think the Orioles or Red Sox can. And, I mean, the Rays, they lost a lot this year, did not pick up too much. They're getting guys back from injuries, but I think the Blue Jays are in a league of their own in the AL East.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's all.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the division as well, so I can't argue
it. Real quick, I would like to do my second and final team real quick because we're just going to do one more because mine fits kind of well with what Will just said. I want to talk about the team that beat the Blue Jays in the wild card, the Seattle Mariners. I mean, this team is going to be so good next year. Like, obviously, they won't win the division because they have the clear-cut best team in baseball at the top of their division. But nobody wants to play them in the playoffs. Let's be honest. Robbie Ray had a down year after Cy Young year, going to a new city. I expect him to have a little bit of a bounce back. Do I think he will be as dominant? Definitely not. But he doesn't need to be. They have Luis Castillo leading that rotation now because that was a spectacular move that the Mariners front office made at the deadline. I mean, the emergence of Cal Raleigh becoming one of the better catchers in baseball. And then you have your young stud in Julio, who's going to be your leader for years to come. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this Mariners team, and they could be a very dangerous sneaking in as a wild card and then beating a team or two. I could see them going on a deep run next year in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I love the Cal Riley Big Dumper is his nickname. I love that shout out. I mean, a guy with 221. It's hard to look at him and say, hey, this guy's a standout catcher. But I mean, one of the best frame rates, one of the best, I mean, defensive war in the league. I mean, he defended the backstop like amazing at a very, very elite level. And then also added on 20 plus homers. This guy, he gets shifted against, I think, 97% of the time. If you want to talk about a guy that is going to really benefit from the shift being moved, Cal Riley is number one, a big power hitting lefty. They load him up, I think, 97.3% of the time. And the difference between when the shift is on and when it isn't is I mean, night and day. He's hitting like 270 without it. So I expect him to be great. I mean, they brought in Colton Wong to fill for second base. So I mean, a lot coming from this team. I mean, Jock, I like the call out. I mean,
thank you, sir.
But Jock, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, do they have a chance to win the division at all?
No
a slight chance.
No. As good as I think this team will, the Astros pitching depth, their lineup, unless somebody like gets injured and is out for the whole season, I mean, just no. The Astros are the clear cut on paper and have proven it. They are the best team in baseball, and that's literally it. They won 100 and what did they win? 100 and something games last year. They were dominant. I mean,
yes. I mean, sometimes they're so good you don't need to back it up. Like the Astros are just so good.
Yeah.
But moving on, Jack. Who we got? Do you have another team to watch here?
It's kind of like the Mariners, who I think will make a deep run in the AL, and I think will demolish their division because I don't think their division is good at all. Instead of this Cleveland Guardians team, we know their rotation: Bieber, McKenzie, Quantrill, all very good starting pitchers, and their closer, who Will thinks is the best in baseball. He's the second best, Emmanuel Clase, and James Karinchak coming off a great year. They also added Mike Zunino and Josh Bell at first base, which helps Josh Naylor, who's a horrible fielder, then played DH basically for the whole year. And they have some dogs in that team. I mean, Jose Ramirez might finally win his first MVP because he gets second like every year, it feels like. And yeah, they have Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Miles Straw, all very good players.
I was waiting for you to say Jimenez, the guy that left the Mets and just decides to become a top 3 second baseman in the league.
Yeah, I feel like they could make a deep run into the AL and maybe sneak into the ALCS.
Oh, they won the World Series.
I do want to bring up a guy. I feel disrespected that he wasn't mentioned on this amazing Guardians lineup. Jack, I think you're gonna know once I say it. But Steven Kwan. I mean,
oh yeah. You didn't say Kwan?
A stud. He is a.
Well, I mean, yeah. Also, Oscar Gonzalez, who had a great postseason.
Oscar Gonzalez, a very young player. He's got a future ahead of him.
And he kind of came out of nowhere in the postseason. We knew Kwan was good all season. Kwan was in the running for Rookie of the Year. Oscar Gonzalez didn't have a great regular season, and then just decided to go on demon time and hit two walk-off homers in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, big showing out of him in the postseason.
And sometimes that's all it's about.
Yeah.
They also have a good amount of cap room, I believe. So Zach Plesac, Aaron Sevilla can't really cut it in the playoffs. So maybe they make a deadline move and get a good fourth rotation guy.
Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to look at, once again, going back to the shift, which this is going to be a topic for the rest of the offseason. Jose Ramirez, he's a switch hitter, but when he's batting lefty, they're shifting against him also 95% of the time. So that opens up a lane. I mean, he's definitely much better hitter as a lefty. Most of his pop comes from the left side. I mean, he sees right-handed pitchers a lot more than he does. So that's where he's most talented. I expect him to take another step up again. I mean, Jose Ramirez, I don't even know when he's going to finally reach his best self. But, I mean, this guy's just going to keep getting better. I'm waiting for a 30-30 season out of him.
Yeah, I believe he's got second place in MVP voting like 3 times.
Yeah.
Like maybe this is the year he finally gets it. And he leads that Guardians team to a very far run in the postseason.
Yeah, I love the Guardians. I mean, they have so much talent. I mean, you can't wait to see what they can put together.
Yeah, you got to give kudos to the GM, who they went to the World Series and everything kind of fell apart with Lindor. So, and now they changed everything and they're back. They're fully back.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. They're going to run that division for a while. The White Sox are a mess right now. So it's their time to take advantage of it. And I definitely think they could. And moving on right here, last team to watch out. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks. I mean, it's a team that everybody's going to be watching. And I mean, I really, really, really expect a ton out of them. I mean, very young. You love to watch the young teams. There's so much excitement going on. They got all that. They got a lot of swagger. It's just so much fun to watch them. And I mean, the Diamondbacks last year were entertaining too. I mean, they got guys like Ketel Marte, who he had a horrible year last year. I mean, their outfield is loaded with talent. Corbin Corral. I mean, like a bunch of other guys. They have so much ability to be special, and I really think that they can excel. A couple guys just to remember on that team. They have Jordan Lawler coming up, who's a prospect shortstop who's very talented. They have Ryan Nelson, who I don't know if you don't remember. He was a young pitcher who came up.
Mm-hmm.
He had like 2 starts in a row where he let up like 2 hits. He was like ridiculous. He went like 8 innings in his first start, and he looked like he's been there. He looks like he's been there forever, and he looks special. Christian Walker coming off an amazing season. Something to look out for Walker. He was always a home run guy this whole year, but that second half of the year, he hit 280. That's scary. I mean, for a guy who's hitting 215, he turned it up. So, I mean, he's good. He's big to watch. Ketel Marte, and then just end it off, Corbin Corral. What a special rookie year from him. I mean, he's just so good. I mean, I expect a lot of the Diamondbacks. Jack, what do we got for them?
Yeah, they also made an amazing trade. I don't know if you remember. They added Gabriel Moreno, who's one of the best catcher prospects, and Luis Gurriel into the outfield.
Yeah.
And they also have the rising star Alek Thomas, who's very good. So
I forget Thomas's name a lot, but he's good.
Yeah, of course, Zach Allen could get into that Cy Young conversation with how good his end of the season was. So do you expect them to get past the Giants for third place?
I do. The Giants. I look at the Giants and I question how they even are. They're really bad. Like they're exceptionally bad. Mm-hmm. They don't have anything. They don't have anybody special anywhere. It's just like one of their better players, like Thairo Estrada, who doesn't even pop up on like the top 100 list. To me, the Giants are a mess, and they really should throw. They're still trying to fight with these 2 super teams, the Padres and the Giants. Padres and the Dodgers. I think they should throw the hat in and tank soon. I'm sorry if any Giants fans are watching. I really do not like what's going on with your team.
Yeah, I know they signed Conforto. Who did they sign? The other outfielder?
Haniger.
Yeah, it was an overpay as well. So it's like
yeah, not that great.
Yeah, and I mean, as Jack said, Gabriel Moreno, he's a stud for sure. He's a guy. Remember, he hit a baseball through the padding of a wall. That's impressive. So this little fun fact to keep an eye on. I mean, but these Diamondbacks definitely can make a surprising run. Hey, would it blow my mind if they overtook the Dodgers? Just gonna leave it there.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I think we're good. Yeah,
it's a good one to end it on. Yeah.
I mean, their staff is great. I mean, and we got a lot coming up this season. Stay tuned. We got, a ton of stuff coming out soon. Spring training, 10 days. I mean, that's exciting. We're going to have a lot coming. We're going to have some more rankings, some more, fantasy baseball stuff, even a surprise guest coming up soon. And for that, Joe's Knows Baseball.
Whoa.
Quick shout out.
Yeah. Oh, we got a quick shout out the college basketball show, which is going to be ramping up a lot because of March Madness and the Big Ten tournaments and all those tournaments. Also, the special college football show that'll be coming out with a special guest, very special one. A little sneak peek, a little high in the PFF authority. And we'll also be dropping our NFL draft show almost every week, which will be analyzing players and analyzing teams and what's their best pick and who are the best players in the draft.
Yeah. Another shout out. Just want to end it off to our wonderful producer.
Oh yeah.
In his humble abode right now, putting the work in, Benny Chadwick. Love to see it. Great man. Nobody better in the business. It's gonna be hard to see him go next year. Don't know if anyone can fill his shoes, but love to see the hard work he puts in. And I think that's gonna wrap it up. Yes, there we go. Shout out Benny Chadwick. So that's going to wrap it up. For me, Jack Kemmler, Giacomo Imperial, that will be it. Thank you for watching. Can't wait to see you guys next time.